The title of our series, A Song of Ice and Fire, has been staring us in the face since the beginning. Now, of course, it makes us think of the others and dragons, but what does the title really mean? Well, it's almost certain that this title is homage to the American poet Robert Frost. He wrote an apocalyptic poem called Fire and Ice. Some say the world will end in fire, some say in ice. From what I've tasted of desire, I hold with those who favor fire. But if it had to perish twice, I think I know enough of hate to say that for destruction ice is also great and would suffice. So Frost is playing off of science's question on how the Earth will end. In the 1920s, scientists were convinced that either the fiery core of the Earth would consume it or an ice age would freeze it. But there is an obvious omission. The Earth, of course, may also die when humans destroy it. Let's keep in mind this poem was written in the wake of World War I. War is most certainly the elephant in the room. Now, if you read closely, the poem is not really about ice and fire, but their metaphorical equivalents, hate and desire. The poem is also written ironically, with a black and white view of the world and a creepy indifference to the idea of global death. And that is, of course, the whole point. Hate, desire, simplistic thinking, and war are the real destructive forces threatening our world, not ice and fire. And the idea that ice and fire is actually hate and desire is not lost on our author. My Lord Father told me about the mountains, but I never saw one till now. I love them more than I can say. But you just said you hated them. Why can't it be both? Because they're different, like night and day or ice and fire. If ice can burn, then love and hate can mate. Mountain or marsh, it makes no matter. The land is one. So our author makes the near same metaphorical connection as Frost. Ice and fire are love and hate. Frost simply called them desire and hate. Now Jojen says that love and hate can mate. But what is the mating of love and hate? Vengeance? To hate for the sake of love? Is A Song of Ice and Fire a song of love and hate? A song of vengeance? Well, it would certainly make sense. The love of Bran caused Eddard's hate. The love of Eddard caused Robb's hate. And the love of Robb caused Lady Stoneheart's hate. Vengeance begets vengeance begets vengeance. A sad, sick cycle. At first it would seem odd to reference an anti-war poem in the title of a fantasy book series, but if you read our author's other work, it's par for the course. George R.R. Martin has been writing anti-war stories from the beginning. He was, and is, kind of a hippie. You see, George R.R. Martin came of age during the Vietnam War. He was against the war and even wore a peace sign on his graduation cap. Our author got out of the draft by being a conscientious objector. He instead volunteered with the anti-poverty program VISTA, which is now part of AmeriCorps. Our author's first story ever published was called The Hero, and it's a story about a soldier in the brutal human-Harangan War who simply wanted to go home. He is killed by his unfeeling commanding officer. Our author's stories very consistently show the death, evil, and pointlessness of war, and he fully admits that the specter of Vietnam loomed over him as a writer. In 1983, he wrote a novel called The Armageddon Rag, which is a story about an ex-hippie who is haunted by Vietnam despite not going. He is swept up in a new revolution and is given the choice between war and peace. Peace wins out. In 1986, our author wrote a story called The Road Less Traveled, another reference to Robert Frost. This story is again about a man who never went to Vietnam, but is haunted by it. And in the Wildcard series, our author's most autobiographical character, the Turtle, is also anti-war. However, in his final showdown with an enemy, he emotionally creates a tidal wave and kills them all. He is disgusted with himself and retires from being a hero. The point of all of this is our author is clearly against war and has dedicated his career to writing stories in this vein. If A Song of Ice and Fire is really our author's magnum opus, it's not going to be a glorification of war. Our early impressions that A Song of Ice and Fire is about fighting the evil others is just wrong. And dragons rescuing the world from ice zombies is just wrong. And Jon or Dany uniting people on the battlefield for that good, just war is wrong. The fact that the others share a name with the sociological and anthropological concept of the constructed other points to the fact that they're not really evil. The others are not the real enemy. The real enemy is war. And considering our author's love for Robert Frost, my mind immediately goes to another Frost poem, The Mending Wall. This poem questions whether walls create good neighbors or create hatred. Now we've discussed Ice and Fire, but why is the whole thing a song? Well, a song isn't just a musical song. By song, we mean story. Before writing, societies had oral history, and singing the stories and structuring them in stanzas and rhymes made people remember them better. This is why, for instance, old epics are structured as poems, and why the Quran is sung. Song is how history was recorded. Song is collective memory. So the collective memory of ice and fire? Well, we're getting closer, but let's shift gears for a second. So, what makes you who you are? Your consciousness? Your memories? Where does one's consciousness end and one's memories begin? Do we have souls? Is there a ghost inside us? If so, how do they interact with memories? Floating around in your head is your 5th birthday, and that chair in your family's living room, and that horrible accident, and that time you fell in love. There are a million memories in there that are so fundamental to who you are now. Consciousness, whatever it is inseparable from memory. What can the mind be made of, if not memories? Who are we after all? Only who we think we are. No more, no less. That's from The Glass Flower, a rather complicated tale about consciousness and the self. A man slowly replaces pieces of himself to become a cyborg. Eventually there's no flesh left. Is he still that man? Is Lady Stoneheart still Catelyn? If memories linger and are animated, are they the same as consciousness? Does one need a ghostly soul on top of that? Or is a ghost just a metaphor? If telekinesis is moving around Catelyn like a marionette, including her brain, is she in there? These are very tough questions about the very nature of existence. And it gets weirder. These are memories within a body. What about memories outside a body? Remember old Nan's stories, Bran. Remember the way she told them. The sound of her voice. So long as you do that, part of her will always be alive in you. I'll remember. So according to Mira, old Nan exists as a memory, as a song. In a sense, old Nan is a remnant, a ghost. Or as Qyburn puts it, once at the Citadel, I came into an empty room and saw an empty chair. Yet I knew a woman had been there only a moment before. The cushion was dented where she sat, the cloth was still warm, and her scent lingered in the air. If we leave our smells behind us when we leave a room, surely something of our souls must remain when we leave this life. Now I get that it's a pretty big jump from memories of someone being a metaphorical ghost to memories of someone being actual consciousness. But our author makes this jump very often, and he does so through the metaphor of song. This is from the Armageddon Rag, where ghosts of musicians appear. For one long moment, it seemed as though he did not stand alone. It seemed as though others were crowding the stage on either side of him. So many others, dozens of them, hundreds maybe, bright and dim, shades from a restless yesterday only now put to rest. And all of them were dead. And all of them would live forever in the music, in the sounds that would never ever die. So here songs are memories and are ghosts with consciousness. In fact, that's the very plot of the Armageddon Rag. A young boy is seemingly possessed by an old dead rocker. Is he actually possessed by another consciousness? Or is he simply inspired by the songs, by the memories? Is there a difference? And this isn't the only time our author conflates memory and consciousness and ghosts and song. Our author has another story called Remembering Melody about a man being haunted by a dead woman's ghost. We don't actually know if the man is haunted by a disembodied consciousness or simply haunted by the memory of a woman. Is there a difference? It's interesting that her name is Melody, as in a song. Now, by conflating the concepts of song and memory and consciousness, our author jumps to some odd but very interesting places. Remember how I said song was the collective memory of society? Does that mean song is the collective consciousness of society? The hippies certainly thought that. They believed that music of peace could change the national zeitgeist, the public's consciousness. And that's really what I'm saying here. According to our author, song is not just melody, song is not just memory, song is consciousness. And over and over and over, our author makes this connection. I read bells, not the sound of bells, no, the feel of bells, the emotion of bells, the bright clanging joy, the hooting, shouting, ringing loudness, the song of the joined, the togetherness and sharing of it all. The song in A Song for Leah is the collective consciousness of the Grishka. For the most part, their long lives are given over to abstract thought, to philosophy, to strange green dreams that neither you nor I can truly comprehend. They are silent musicians, one might say. Together they have woven great symphonies of dreams, and those songs go on and on. The song in Guardians is the collective consciousness of the Mudpots. When they died, they went into the wood, into leaf and limb and root, and the trees remembered. All their songs and spells, their histories and prayers, everything they knew about this world. Maesters will tell you that the werewoods are sacred to the old gods. The singers believe they are the old gods. When singers die, they become part of that godhood. The song of the singers is the collective consciousness of the werewoods. So, A Song of Ice and Fire is the collective consciousness of ice and fire? A collective consciousness of love and hate? Of vengeance? A rough thought. Apt, but rough. But we do seem to have a few collective consciousnesses floating around. When Jojen and Mira first swear fealty to Bran, they swear it by earth and water, bronze and iron, ice and fire. Now the singers are those who sing the Song of Earth, a collective consciousness of Earth. With ice, we naturally think of the others who acted fairly hive-minded at the Fist of the First Men, a Song of Ice. With water, I think of the Sorrows with the Shrouded Lord and the Stone Men. They also seem to act collectively, a Song of Water. But of course, water could be some other groups, the Rhoynar, the Ironborn, the Squishers. With fire, my mind goes to the glass candles, the tools of Valyrians. These allowed the Valyrians to work collectively, a Song of Fire. But of course, which glass candles? Marwyn and Sorella's? Does Quaithe have one? Bronze and iron are harder to place. Bronze sounds like First Men. Is iron Andal's? Or is it Ironborn? Or is it Iron Throne? And these are pretty big groups. Who among the First Men? The Wildlings? The Northerners? The Green Men? And who among the Andals? The Maesters and their Ravens? And we have all sorts of other collectives. The Conspiracy of Aegon, Littlefinger's cronies, the Sparrows, the Faceless Men. I have very little confidence in this, but I'm going to say that the 6 collectives are Others, Children, Green Men, Maesters, Stone Men, and Dornish Glass Candle Wielders. Regardless, there seems to be many collective consciousnesses throughout the land, many songs, and each of them seems to be filled with vengeance. So is this where our story is heading? Just a big, hateful bloodbath destined to end in slaughter? I mean, that's what the prophecies say, right? A battle for the dawn? Dragons and ice zombies and genocide. And maybe the last man standing can be king of the smoldering pile of Westeros. One true king, to continue on the wonderful practice of feudalism. I mean, that's what we all want, right? A big apocalyptic battle. With lots and lots of death. I mean, that's how Star Wars ended. That's how Lord of the Rings ended. That's how the Bible ended. I mean, I guess there's nothing more to say about the issue. Unless it doesn't have to. In the Armageddon Rag, our protagonist is riddled by prophetic dreams of destruction and the end of the world. In the end, he chose to interpret them differently. Confrontation, war, Armageddon. They don't understand. It will destroy all of them. They're going to use her in some kind of sacrifice slum. And the gates of hell are going to open, and all the dead are going to come back. Then stop it, Sandy. Change it. In the end, our protagonist chose the path away from violence. And it worked. As it turns out, all of that doom and gloom prophecy was nonsense. There is no future but what we make, and there is hope for the world of ice and fire. You see, when love and hate mate, it doesn't always result in vengeance. Sometimes the horribleness of the world inspires people to be more caring, or more understanding, and then those people inspire others, and inspire others, and inspire others. Society's collective consciousness can be changed. The song can be a different tune. And this is why it's so important that our characters discover the truth about the world. Humans are the root of all problems, not prophecy or magic or gods or cartoonishly evil monsters. Humans choose their own destiny, and if they really want, they can choose peace.